Most people unwind by turning on something loud, a game show playing in the background, a sitcom looping for the hundredth time, music filling every empty space so silence never has a chance to settle. And then there's a quieter group of people, the ones who, late at night, find themselves watching interrogations, cold cases, unsolved disappearances, no laugh track, no comfort arc, just slow voices, long pauses, and human behavior under pressure. If that contrast has ever made you feel slightly out of step with the world, this video is for you because neuroscience and psychology have a lot to say about why some minds are pulled toward true crime and why others aren't disturbed by that pull at all. Let's get something clear early, before the topic gets heavy. If you can't stop watching true crime, it doesn't mean you're broken, dark, desensitized, or secretly violent. And if you don't understand the appeal, that doesn't make you shallow, naive, or emotionally weak. Human attention doesn't distribute itself randomly. It follows patterns shaped by biology, experience, and identity. This video isn't here to label anyone as better or worse. It's here to explain a difference that's been misunderstood for a long time. True crime sits at a strange intersection of fear and fascination. From the outside, it looks morbid, but psychologically, it engages systems that evolved to keep humans alive. The human brain is a prediction machine. It's constantly scanning for threats, patterns, and anomalies. When a crime story unfolds, especially one told slowly and analytically, the brain enters a heightened learning mode. Dopamine isn't released because the story is fun, but because the brain believes it's gathering survival-relevant information. Research from the late 2000s into threat-based learning shows that humans retain information more effectively when it's framed as a potential danger scenario. True crime doesn't just tell a story, it simulates a problem the brain wants to solve. This is where people get confused. Dopamine is often described as the pleasure chemical, but that's incomplete. Dopamine is about anticipation, pattern recognition, and motivation. True crime activates dopamine by offering incomplete information and delayed resolution. Who did it? Why did they do it? What was missed? The brain stays engaged not because it enjoys violence, but because it wants closure. For certain cognitive styles, this kind of slow burn uncertainty is deeply absorbing. Another layer comes from emotional regulation. Some people process emotion externally through social stimulation and shared experiences. Others process emotion internally through analysis and narrative reconstruction. Studies from personality psychology, especially research building on introversion and high trait openness, show that internally oriented thinkers often gravitate toward content that allows emotional distance. True crime provides intensity without requiring personal vulnerability. You can explore fear, morality, and human limits without exposing your own life. This is important to say clearly. Being drawn to true crime does not mean you lack empathy. In fact, for many viewers, it's the opposite. Neuroscience research on empathic accuracy suggests that people who spend time analyzing behavior often become better at reading emotional cues. True crime viewers frequently focus less on the spectacle and more on the psychology. What pushed someone past the line? What signals were ignored? How could this have been prevented? That curiosity is not cruelty. It's an attempt to make sense of chaos. At the same time, it helps to understand the reverse perspective. People who binge true crime aren't doing something unnatural or dangerous by default. Their brains are responding to a combination of narrative structure, threat assessment, and emotional distance. In uncertain times, this kind of content can even feel stabilizing. It turns random horror into a contained story with an ending. Even when the case is unresolved, it's framed, categorized, and examined. Psychologically, that can feel safer than the vague unpredictability of real life. This doesn't mean everyone experiences it the same way. Some people watch true crime for intellectual reasons. Others watch because it gives them a sense of preparedness. Some are drawn to the moral questions. Some are simply responding to the pacing and tone. Human motivation is rarely single-layered. Reducing it to people just like murder stories misses the point entirely. Where things get interesting is when you look at who doesn't feel the pull. Non-obsessive individuals tend to allocate emotional energy differently. Their sense of meaning often comes from direct engagement rather than observation. Instead of watching human extremes, they prefer living within their own emotional bandwidth. Their nervous systems are less curious about edge cases and more focused on continuity and stability. That doesn't make them less deep. It makes them differently anchored. Identity plays a role here too. People who are drawn to true crime often have what psychologists call a self-anchored identity. They don't rely heavily on social consensus to tell them how to feel. They're comfortable holding complex, even uncomfortable thoughts without needing immediate resolution. Watching difficult material doesn't destabilize them because their sense of self isn't easily shaken. Again, this isn't a flex, it's a temperament. And if you've ever felt weird for being deeply interested in this kind of content while others recoil or joke about it, hear this clearly. Your curiosity doesn't mean you're missing something socially. It means your mind engages with reality through understanding rather than avoidance. That's neutral. Sometimes it's useful, sometimes it's heavy, but it's not wrong. Your backstory matters here too, and there isn't just one. Maybe you grew up in an environment where unpredictability was normal, so learning patterns became a coping skill. Maybe you've always been observant, the kind of person who noticed small shifts in mood or behavior. Maybe you're simply someone who finds comfort in analysis. Or maybe you stumbled into true crime one day and your brain said, "This makes sense to me." All of those reasons are valid. None of them require fixing. People extract meaning from life in different ways. Some find meaning through participation, connection, and shared joy. Others find meaning through observation, understanding, and narrative coherence. True crime sits firmly in the second category. It allows viewers to explore humanity from a distance, to wrestle with moral complexity without needing to perform emotional reactions for anyone else. Neither orientation is superior. They just answer different psychological needs. Here's the deeper insight most discussions miss. True crime isn't actually about death. It's about control. Not control over others, but control over understanding. When something terrible happens, it threatens the brain's belief that the world is predictable. True crime rebuilds that belief piece by piece. It says there were signs, there were choices, there were systems that failed. Even when the conclusion is tragic, the narrative restores a sense of order. For minds that value coherence, that restoration is powerful. This is also why some people suddenly lose interest after a while. Once the brain has learned what it feels it needs to learn, the pull fades. Curiosity is not infinite, it's purposeful. And when it's satisfied, it moves on. So if you're someone who keeps coming back to these stories or someone who never quite understood why others do, remember this. You're not missing out on life. You're not secretly broken. You're operating under a different psychological orientation, one that prioritizes understanding over comfort, coherence over distraction, and quiet curiosity over noise. This is the kind of human difference we explore here on The Glitch Psychology. If this resonated, there's more clarity waiting for you there. You're not behind, you're not damaged, you're just playing a different game.